Okay, I think I'm recording. So because we have, it appears everybody present at 9:10, we're going to start the study session slightly early. Open the study session for the Board of Directors of the Park City Metropolitan District on January 31st, 2023 at 5:58. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. First thing, if you noticed, I put in the front, I did finally get a reply back from the public county clerk and reporter. They say thank you for your interest in having a public county clerk and reporter conduct your May 2nd, 2023 special district election. It is an honor to be entrusted with the responsibility to be your county clerk and reporter. I give my promise I would serve with integrity, honor, and transparency. In the spirit of the promise, I am emailing you to inform that I will not be able to be the coordinated election official. So they are going to handle it. I have got a hold of Pueblo West, Live Fire, Rural Fire. We are looking at a company to do it and hold the election. So we're in scramble mode, trying to get everything together right now. I did call Action 22 to kind of put a little pressure there to see if they can change her mind. The biggest issue said I got is that she isn't certified and stuff since she came into office on January 10th, and she hasn't gone through all the training to be a certified election official. So if she has an election office, that they are. So I'm just letting the board know that that is in the works right now for our election. Next on the list, the health department, they won't be here tonight. We rescheduled them for the next meeting on the 14th of February. Valley First, Misty came in. She's going to give an update as to where they're going and what's happening with ball field and.
So there used to be a camera, but there's no one.
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, okay. So where should I?
You can stand on the podium if you want. If you want the button there,
Officially official?
if you push the button on the mic, they will just hold it. There you go.
So Misty Spray from Valley First, I was here, gosh, four or 5 months ago. Just introducing myself and the work that we were doing here for the community. Just wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at. Since we saw you last, we have only had about $4,000 in the checking account, so hadn't made much progress at that point. Since then, we've secured an additional $304,000 in funding. So we have a total of $310,000 in funding towards the Greenhorn Valley Park Revitalization Project. What you see here is actually a lot of information, but I wanted you guys to have the full project scope of what we're working on. As I mentioned last time, we're looking to get that football field turf, install the bleachers, landscaping, scoreboard, all of that. Install a Little League baseball field that's turf and has fencing and all of that. And then I've been working with VFC because I know trails was a concern with the conflict. They were wanting to do the trails. Other people in the community wanted the trails. So I've made an agreement with them that I've been writing grants for them on their behalf as well to try to get some of the trails funded also. So you'll see that as part of the Greenhorn Park part is the trail through the park. So it's the trail starting on the side of the library, loops all the way around 165 and then back towards that football field. And then we want to put on the easement towards the grocery store, another little park, which I think is by your property, like a gravel trail to make so people can safely walk from the park over to the business district. So right now we've gotten 100,000 from OEDIT, which is a state outdoor tourism and recreation grant. We were awarded that back in November. I've been working with the Pueblo County Board of Commissioners. They gave us another $150,000 as a grant match. And obviously your 50,000 contribution that was part of the Parks and Recreation dollars will go towards that. Finally, we secured 3,900 from the Pueblo County Health Department. We're actually using those funds. We have to use them immediately, so we're purchasing goalposts and soccer goals for that field that will be used when that field's complete. I've been working with CDOT pretty closely. They have 2 to 3 times a month they award grantees up to $250,000. It's called the Small Town Revitalization Grant. So that's really the trails. So we want to install 5,000 square feet by 6 feet deep of asphalt trail on that pathway that I talked about, and then that pathway back towards sort of our downtown area, even though we don't have a typical downtown area. So we feel 99% positive about that one. If we don't get it this first month, they award 2 to 3 every single month through the year 2030. So they have almost $40 million that they're getting money for that's specific for trails and that sort of thing. Major League Baseball has committed to us another $20,000 once we secured about 90 to 95% of the funding. They said come back and they'll give us another 20,000. And then, and finally working with a group called El Lamar, and we've submitted with them. This is our second round, and feel pretty confident that they're going to get us 100,000 in this next round. That said, that leaves us about 750,000 short of the $1.4 million project goal. So we've been working with GOCO. This is actually my 5th submission to GOCO that I submitted this morning. In talking with our grant funding person, who's our community manager, his name's Chris Alfie. He feels really good. He said this is our most solid submission so far. Every submission we've had, they've come back with feedback. If, for example, they wanted a community engagement study, which we did. We interviewed over 350 households. They wanted as part of this parks revitalization. We went and got as much matching dollars as we could, so we're almost at a 50% match when these additional funders come in. And so we're really hoping that we can get this last 750 from GOCO to complete the project. So from there, we would do a statement of work with you guys to make sure that everything's in alignment with what you're thinking, and then go ahead and kick off the project work and hopefully get that started this summer, if all goes according to plan. The only other thing I wanted to add in there is I've been working with Jim and our CDOLA contact, Sarah, on the community blocks grant. So on that, we're requesting 85,000 to do a planning grant for the community to do a recreation center. So we have a recreation center, it's a rec center, but it's not really a rec center, right? It's an older pool and with some games in it. So we'd like to do a full-size gymnasium with a walking path for seniors so they can walk in the evenings and in the winter time. Pickleball can be in there. If we could get an actual indoor pool that is year round. There's a lot of investigation to be done there. So that's what that 85,000 would do with the feasibility study. So they would go out and see what it would cost on an annual basis. If we got grant funding and got the whole thing covered, and as far as cost, could we cover the operations just based on membership dues from the community, or would we need additional money? So that's what the 85 would be, a full fledged report on all of the components of a recreation center. That would be like 2 to 3 years from. So I think that's it, unless you guys have any questions.
Questions? Misty, matching funds of 50,000 from Colorado City Metro?
Yes.
Where was that?
So I worked with Jim last year and it's built into the 2023 budget. We do a parks center.
That was what Josh has accumulated over the last 3 years. We put it on for matching funds.
We still, this project, of course, is going to be on Metro property, correct?
Correct.
So we, I think, as the board and as the community, probably need to kind of see a layout, a plan of what you have proposed. And we very definitely need an MOU.
Yes, we would create an MOU when we got the funding. We went ahead and that's when we did the community engagement study. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but we went to 350 households and knocked on every door and They have a
Yeah,
40-page report
and that's appropriate.
that has,
That's good.
that has the layout, it has everybody's votes of what they wanted in the community, it has everybody's feedback. So we have all of that. already. And so that's what the health department was gonna come and talk to you about tonight, but they found that something else.
Do you have you drawn up an MOU that we, the board, could approve?
So we don't have the funds yet, so I think it's a bit premature to draft an MOU until we get the funds, but as we got closer to getting the funds, we would obviously come back to you and say, this is again what we're proposing, we'll draft an MOU. We are only doing this to help benefit our city, because we feel like this is something that our kids and our community members need. And it was an unmet need that we're all volunteering to help you guys get their projects to benefit us in any way, it's to benefit.
I think we understand that. Good question, please. Other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next, we have a contract to buy and sell real estate. We're looking at unit 5, block 26. I believe I took, a photograph of what it is. If you look at this page, this is Colorado, this is Saratoga. The lot that they want is this one over here. There is no water, sewer. We're offering $4,200. It's R1. The lot area is 0.28 of an acre. So it's all 1 R2. Our book price on it is $1,030. Like you said, we don't know where those prices come from. That's how it is.
So, how far is water and sewer away?
Okay, if you look at this map, it'll kind of stencil it out. You should have a look to
I'm looking at it.
okay, water and sewer go up to that corner and then it goes up Saratoga. So this is the other side that there is.
It's quite a distance, a little distance.
And I have no understanding of why they wanted it, whatever. I don't know whether they have multiple lots on this.
So let me help out there. They are the property, they're homeowners that are on the hill, just as north of that. They own that property.
Oh, okay.
They have those.
The north one is which one?
They're kind of right above it. And
The big one, the big lot.
So that's up on the agenda to sell it at that price if they want.
Questions, comments?
Get some question. Is that, well, fair price.
I think that it's any utility, and it's not a huge lot, and it's abandoned property, and I'm trying to.
Thank you.
Including on a lot of
Yes.
other. I just give them access to that road then, wouldn't it?
That little circle you see on top of the map,
Yeah,
that's kind of the end of the cul-de-sac that goes down and connects the cul-de-sac. And they have a home, that's part of, what's that building thing?
Anything further?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, next you have resolution 4-2023. This is, resolution adopting a supplemental budget and appropriations for 2022. Went through all of our funds and the roads fund, we overspent, but we also have more money in there. If you look down the P resolution, it says roads revenue. Source amount was 30,000, and that was because of, specific ownership tax and miscellaneous. We spent, was the purpose was on a dump truck and grappler, which was $11,425. The next, we had, enterprise fund. Our revenues were up with green fees, 23,000, 5,000 for rental cars, 5,000 in membership dues, and the overage was $23,765. And that was for Gulf Enterprise Fund. Expenses were seasonal wages, bank fees, legal fees, and operating supplies that we were over with. And then on property management fund, we had an excess of $36,000 from sale of assets. Purpose of the expenditure was $4,572. It was cost of the lot sales, dump truck, and not budgeted. We didn't have a budget in it for 2022. So this would clean up our budget as to where we might have overspent, but we also took in more money in those departments too.
Questions?
Well, what? Minute.
You may.
I'm trying to make sense of this here, graph here that you got here, and I'm not making any sense of it at all from what you just told me.
Oh, that's on the next resolution. That's for the appropriation. That you have the draft. Right here. If you go to the green one, go to the green tab, it's your first green tab.
First, yeah.
That's what I just reviewed as that one. As
Gotcha.
the resolution to supplement.
So what you're telling us is we overspent what we budgeted, but we also made more money than we budgeted.
Yes, in those departments.
You
So section 2, Jim, the board hereby appropriates additional funds to the government fund, water enterprise fund, and wastewater enterprise fund. What funds are we appropriating to those accounts?
We're appropriating it to the general fund to pay that overage, but on the, go ahead and ask questions, please.
With, in that, it says government fund, water enterprise fund, and wastewater enterprise fund. What is going to the water enterprise fund and wastewater enterprise fund?
When I was doing this, I overlooked that. So we'll have to amend that. I'll take that out with that. Because it's just basically your government fund and your enterprise fund, both enterprise fund. I was missed on common and property fund.
So that section 2, that paragraph needs to be changed to government fund, golf course enterprise fund, and property management fund.
Yes.
That's it.
No, change that.
Questions? Let's go ahead.
Okay, next one is appropriation sums of money, which is 05022. As like we said in the first one, this gives you a breakdown of the graph as to where those funds will be operating expenses for general fund for golf enterprise of $23,755. Roads with the capital outlays was $11,425, and property management of $4,527, with the total of being $29,762.
39,000.
39,762.
So this basically is in conjunction with the previous.
Yeah. We have a resolution to take our expenditures and stuff and then how we're gonna appropriate them.
So budget cuts. Where did we screw up?
It was a year in advance, and the golf fund, we normally try and be conservative on everything. As to,
We use historical averages to come up with revenue in golf. And then for, the revenue comes in over, I mean, we're just projecting on the budget and based on historical information. So it's not really like a screw up, it's just, if we have more golfers that team less summer, then our revenue goes up.
and most likely you're gonna have expenses that go up. Because you're gonna have more bank fees, you're gonna have, more people working.
Understood. Bill, 23,000 seems like kind of an exorbitant amount of missing it for golf course expense. Is there something specifically, was anything unusual that we missed it on there?
Not really, it was, like I said, like Yvonne said, it's historical data and how we put the revenue coming in. And we've noticed from COVID year to even last year, golf was down. So we still underestimate what's coming in because we don't know whether it's gonna still be
We
there or not.
also want to, on revenue, you want to project conservative. And expenses, we're gonna project, higher. I mean, if we have enough revenue, and that's normally what you do in a budget.
Understood. That seems a bit excessive as far as missing it that far, though.
Like I said, my crystal ball was rough.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, then we have the next resolution, which is resolution 06/2023. This is a resolution to transfer appropriate sums of money from one fund to another fund. This was CTF funds that we received for the pool, repairs. And what we need to do is, once you get the check, it goes into our CTF fund. We'll transfer it into general fund to replace, the payouts that we already paid. Because it's just a, I want to say like a rebate or refund of what we paid for repairing the pool. And that was, $82,025.46.
Questions?
Yeah, just real quick. So I know we had to send some of the money back.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming since we had to send some of the money back, that everything is 100% ready to go for that pool, and we don't have any foreseeable future problems coming up.
All leaks are fixed, new heater. We redid all the bathrooms, all the new showers, new toilets. New booster pump. So the only thing in there is the main pump for the pool, but as of right now, last year, it's running just fine.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Let's see what I got here next, amending, The personnel handbook, we've had, employees that have asked to work part-time, and to clarify it, had a lawyer look through our personnel handbook, and there was some areas that it did not spell it out right for part-time, seasonal, and full-time. And as for vacation leave, sick leave, so she went through and we'd like to change the areas to reflect, to give it a more direct, definitive, statement as to whether a part-time employee or part-time, full-time employee. And, our holidays, I know we have a holiday that was missing in our handbook. So at the time we did it all.
Questions? I have a question. Reading through this, it basically identifies part-time employees. That's really what the basis of the change is. But as I understand it, it identifies a part-time employee, somebody that works an hour a week.
Yeah, they could be a part-time employee, but they're not qualified for benefits.
What this for?
There's two tiers of, part-time.
Right.
There's two definitions. So the first one is under, I believe it's 33 hours. And then the one that is the top tier that gets, benefits,
It's over
is over
So
33
you
hours.
have this, the 33 hours is when you're, eligible for health insurance.
Yeah.
But
In
beyond,
proportion
but under
to,
33 hours, anytime, there's not a specified time for a part-time employee under 33 hours. It could be somebody that works 1 hour a week,
Yes.
right,
and then they're eligible for vacation pay. And they're eligible for holiday pay. And eligible for other benefits other than insurance. So if we could hire somebody, you could actually have a temporary employee, but categorize them as part-time employee and 1 hour a week, and they get benefits.
well, I don't think we would do that, and we don't have anybody classified like that.
Really, I feel quite comfortable you wouldn't do that. On the same token, what about the people 5 years from now? And I'm opening that up the board. Is that a tough?
Be prorated.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's only 1 hour, they wouldn't get much
That's
vacation
correct, but
time.
they would still get it. For 1 hour a week for 5 years, they'll get pretty significant.
No, they wouldn't get the whole time off, I don't think.
No, it's prorated.
Prorated, but if they only work 1 hour a week, they'd only get maybe
It
20
would add
minutes
up.
or something.
You give 140 of that.
Right, but it would add up. So in 5 years' time, you'd have a significant amount of benefits.
Capped at the end of the year. Everyone is capped at 120 hours.
That it's up.
So using the 2022 as just an example, what did that category of people collect for part-time? Approximately
Zero.
dollars.
In 2022, 0. We didn't have anyone classified in that second
And we will in the next year,
one.
fiscal.
My concern probably wouldn't be for the present, as much as for setting precedent for the future. That's all I have. Anybody else any comments? Go ahead, man.
Okay, next, I have moratorium discussion. If you look in the black, blue, section, I did get a letter in. It says, Colorado Metro Board members and Colorado City Manager. We will not be able to attend the January meeting regarding a moratorium on water tap. So we wanted to weigh in on the decision. We strongly feel that should be a moratorium on new taps in Colorado City. We don't have the infrastructure or personnel to handle any more demand on our water system. It has been said that more homes using the system would bring more revenue, but that amount brought in would be very minimal compared to the needs of our system. I believe we are need to pursue grants and donations to bring the system up to standards, and we feel the system should be repaired and working well before adding any stress to it. If there is no moratorium, we feel the cost of auto cap should be greatly increased. We need to look to the future of our community. Bigger is not always better. Sometimes bigger just brings larger problems. Sincerely, Lon and Kat Johnson. We did have a resolution made up as to, if you look at it, we have left it blank as to if you guys decide to put a moratorium as to how many taps per year. It will go from year to year, and you could redo it on an annual basis. I know within the last 4 years that I've been here, we've averaged probably between 25 and 30 taps a year for houses being built. That is, if we're going to do it, I don't think that puts that much of a strain, or we can keep it that way until we have the dam up to where it needs to be, pre-treatment pipes and all of that, which you're looking probably anywhere from 3 to 5 years down the road. We have so far last year we had, this year, I think we have 3. 4. Or did not this year.
Were any of them approved from last year? Were any of them approved from last year that have been bought this year? Were they ones that we had already approved last year?
No, last year's over.
So these are fresh taps.
These are fresh taps as of January 1st, at the $20,000. Questions? We're gonna address this in public hearing.
One thing is, a lot of those grants are matched, so I understand that there should be donations and grants, but that was just qualified for libraries. There's a lot of them are matching.
Receiving the funds, tracking funds.
Good. I'll make the comments.
Jerry?
Let's move on.
Okay, next, CCAC, Nancy?
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Actually, I believe that the presentation. I'm there.
You gonna do that now?
Do you want to do that now and then maybe? No.
This needs to be on.
Yes, please, there you go.
This is a collaborative effort. I can be short straw, that's all. I'm going to read, I can say. This has to do with the open meeting law. And, after doing some research, it was found that it's quite different, at least in my opinion, than the way that it was being used here. This is the summary of the Supreme Court case. I think was in the packet. I think in total.
It was sent to you.
Okay. So this, some of this was in the packet, some was not. But the Supreme Court case involved a gold mine northeast of San Luis, Colorado. They were dumping contaminants into a public stream. The mine operators had been approved or had been approached by the health department and others about correcting the problem to resolve issues. Gold mine owners set up a meeting at the Hideaway Restaurant in Alamosa. Invited to attend were the health department and some other interested regulators. The Castilla County Board of Commissioners was also invited to attend. 2 of the 3 commissioners, which constituted a quorum, did attend. The Castilla County Conservation District was not invited and did not know about the meeting until later. The open meetings law and the Conservancy's opinion required the Board of Commissioners to post the meeting because of the quorum that body was at the meeting. How many times have you done that? The Conservancy District sued the Board of Commissioners in district court and ruled in favor of the board that the meeting was for informational purposes and did not require posting. The case was then appealed to the appellate court, who reversed the ruling for the Conservancy because a quorum of the board members attended without posting the meeting. So the case ended up in the Supreme Court for final clarification of the posting requirements in the open meeting law. The following is excerpted from the Supreme Court comments about the case, and they are, the wording is all this. A meeting is defined by the open meetings law as any kind of gathering convened to discuss public business, in person, by telephone, electronically, or by other means of communication. Although public business is not defined by the statute, the open meetings law declared a declaration of policy provides it is declared to be the policy of this state that the formation of public policy is public business and may not be conducted in secret. As a trial court cautioned, if a meeting that is unconnected policy-making function of a local public body were subject to the requirements of the open meetings law, then local public bodies would be required to give notice whenever a quorum of their members attended meetings on any public issue, such as the governor's state of the state address, an educational seminar, a debate on a House or Senate bill, or any other matter that might influence public policy. Continuing their wording, the open meetings law does not impose such a requirement on local public bodies. Instead, the open meetings law requires a local public body to provide notice of any meeting held or attended by a quorum of the public body when that meeting concerns matters that are related to the policy-making function of that body. Based on our reading of the statute as a whole and our case law construing it, we hold means this is now becoming law, that a meeting must be part of the policy-making process to be subject to the requirements of the open meeting law. That's the end of the Supreme Court's comments. These are our feelings. The net of this is that when the Metro Board is discussing policy or the decision-making mode involved in policy, the meeting must be posted and open to the public. When the Metro Board is having a working session on any other than policy, then meeting is not regulated by the open meetings law. When board members are discussing non-policy issues, they may use whatever communication method they choose, with or without a quorum, without posting the meeting. Administrative staff functions are not required by the open meetings law. For privacy reasons in harmony with the open meetings law, the Architectural Advisory Committee needs to be a closed meeting, but there is no reason residents cannot make an appointment to discuss an issue. They can make an appointment to meet with us, or we can approve their request to meet with us if they show up at the time of the meeting. While they wait for us to address their issue, they will not be allowed to sit in the committee room and listen to us discuss another resident's problem. After they provide us with their information, they will be excused from the meeting so we can discuss their situation. While they are at the meeting, we cannot discuss what we might send forward to the board, as the board may choose to do something else. Resident issues are private issues. The committee may need to be aware of some privacy information, but while non-committee individuals are present, if we mention that a resident cannot do it as required because of health issues, we may have violated the HIPAA laws. If we mention someone cannot do what must be done because they can't afford it, we have violated the federal credit reporting law. And in both cases, the resident may not need a nasty set of letters from us threatening him or her with a lawsuit, but they might need a little help from the citizens volunteer group. The above are the results of my research in the open meeting laws. The above landmark case was written in 2004 and is still used as the definitive reference for clarification of the open meetings law. I am not an attorney, or have I ever played one on television, so to make sure the above analysis is correct, I recommend verifying it with an Metro District attorney. Thank you, Barry. Go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I think he gave a good summary of what we're facing with the advisory committee is not making policy. And if we're not making policy, it is important that we announce the meetings or have an open meeting.
Okay, that's now you as being chairman of the committee. That's your position.
Yeah, the board is gonna decide if it's open or closed, and I'll follow suit.
Thank you. Hold on. What about, while we're at the CCAAC review, in the review portion here, do you have anything to bring to the board that has been reviewed?
There was a property you discussed.
But I don't think you have that. You don't have anything.
No.
I am going to change our agenda slightly, but not much of a change after. But I think that in order to be transparent and to allow the public to be involved in some of the CCAC meetings, during the CCAC review portion of the study session, I'm going to allow public input. So that will be.
I statute now because this is a work session.
Right, that's all. I don't have to do it now in the review session, in the study, in the action session.
Meaning board meeting?
Yes,
I think
So-
I think you need to do it now.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, do it now.
All right. Rick, you have something?
Yes, thank you. So I have no doubt what you read me is probably facts, okay? However, I don't agree with it. The reason why I don't agree with it, and I understand your position on this, that I think any citizen has a right to go into those meetings and see how stuff is being done. And I'll tell you what my biggest problem is that the five of us sitting up here rely on you guys big time on the decisions we're making. Now, you guys aren't responsible for those decisions, we are. However, if those decisions are made in a closed room, it doesn't look good. And how do I get, as a board member, how do I get other people's opinion on something that's going on if I'm not there? And the meeting is closed. Because there may be somebody sitting in the audience that comes to me and says, hey, Greg, this ain't right. And explains it to me. I don't mean I'm gonna believe what they tell me, but I like the chance to get that information from concerned citizens. Go ahead.
Well, if the person comes into the meeting and we're discussing their particular situation, and they have that information and they have the opportunity to discuss it, then, and I don't make a decision because I'm not the board,
No, but you make recommendations to us.
right? But they
So-
discuss it with us. Is that correct? They come to the meeting, or are you saying
So,
they just come to
I'm just
you?
saying anybody sitting in
Mhm,
is watching the meetings being conducted,
right,
okay, and they discover something during the meeting that they don't agree with. Hey,
and they
this is
talk
wrong.
to us about it.
Well, you guys don't make any decisions.
No, but they discuss the situation.
They discuss
That
their
was your-
situation with you, but let's say that that doesn't get to us. That's not the board's decision. That's not what you guys decide to pass on to us. How do we get that information?
We have to come in and listen to information of what they discussed as well as what we thought was appropriate. In other words, if you want to make a decision, you have to have a good decision, you have to have enough information.
Exactly.
So if there's a situation where they totally, let's say they come in and they go, they want some other, consideration that we can't give them, that we're not in that position. But if we pass them on to you,
Yes, but I'm not just talking about consideration. I'm also talking about, I'm talking about everything. I mean, doing meetings behind closed doors has never been a good idea in my opinion. Because you guys aren't setting public policy, but you are advising us
right?
on stuff that does set public policy.
Well, there are letters that go out to inform the citizens of the governor and asking them to comply. That's what we're asking you to.
I yield for that.
More opinions.
So you could still invite people to the meeting if you needed more information. And then just the committee that was appointed by the board would be the ones that heard this. I agree. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just understand the stigma to having closed meetings. So let's forget about CCACC for a minute. And imagine that budget was an open meeting. We would never get a budget. Now, I've been waiting for years for someone to suggest that, a board of directors retreat on budget that. That's never happened either. But I think that there's a balance. Nothing that the committee does, nothing that the budget committee does is approved without our approval. And I think for that, what happens, there has to be a balance or work slows down to a stop. And that's I don't think if the covenant's in place, there's much you can hide. Let's say somebody was so inclined, eventually that information's gonna make its way to us through other committee members. But you also have to have the ability to get something done. I mean, if I just took this room here, nearly 20 intelligent, bright people, and each week I had to sit down with them and decide what was going to be in the newspaper, we'd never get it out. But they can hate it or love it after it's out. But I think you have to have a certain amount of ability to get stuff done.
During my lifetime, I've dealt with a lot of committees. And I think that right now we have a very good working group of people, a broad basis of people. And I think that they're not keeping anything secret because the governors are there, the paperwork's there. I think what was missing sometimes was the information we were getting from them to the board in paper and writing. So we can look at things, because we just can't say, well, we're gonna send out these letters without looking at the contact of those letters. And my concern is for committees. We've had committees all over the place. And it's open that people can come in, if it involves them, their property. They can come in and sit down like a builder does, sit down and present things to it, and then he leaves. The problem is sometimes we do not talk or make a phone call if there's a question. We need to call those people up and say, I need more information. Call them up and talk to them about it. And that's what happened in one situation. Nobody followed up with a phone call. And it was dropped. But the problem is, you don't want the bullying, you don't want the harassment, you don't want things going on. I mean, the board members can look at some videos that we have of some meetings. And the meetings, and I think, personally, I think you'd lose a lot of the good people there if you have them open, not that it's hidden. But people can't come in and just have their own agenda because most people have time on their hands or volunteers. And those volunteers are gonna get tired of harassment and the bullying. I'm here to tell you.
I also think you want it to be decided whether it's complained, I think whoever's being complained about should have some level of privacy.
So if there is somebody coming in there being disruptive, I don't see why we can't remove that person from coming to those meetings anymore if they're being disruptive. We don't need to tell everybody in the community that you can't attend because we got one or two bad actors. We tell the one or two bad actors, you're disruptive. You've been to X amount of meetings, we've warned you. You are no longer allowed at our meetings, because if they're not considered public meetings, then we can actually do that. But we don't need to cut everybody off that is coming in, sitting down, and not causing ruckus, that just want to see the process go through.
But I don't think, but see, we're not public.
Yeah.
We're not public.
That's basically all.
Yeah, but we're not public. There's a private group of people, volunteers, coming in,
Very,
looking at things.
see recommend, so you should. You want to speak?
That's what I'm asking you. And I think the thing is they should not be put up with the stress to handle some situations, but some people blow up.
Okay, that's,
And I'll quit at that. I'll have my say. And I think you need to read, because the state law says it.
well,
The state law says it,
They're also not just volunteers, they're appointed by,
yes.
so there has to be some level of trust with people that are doing this work.
so I can see both sides here, but just calling down the rest of the board. I also have great respect for the chairman of the committee. I believe that the chairman of the committee can control things, and we need a chairman that can control things. And I don't see the problem with an audience of the committee meetings, but the audience does not get involved in the committee meeting unless asked to by the chairman. I, like Greg, am concerned about the perception of secrecy, not necessarily secrecy, but the perception of secrecy. Now, that being said, if the meeting does become disruptive, then it needs to be shut down and stopped immediately. But the audience, simply the audience, an audience to the meeting should not be involved in the meeting, but just be there as an audience only. Now, and to Larry's reading of the law, I think we probably could have with those meetings. So I'm leaning on the side of transparency, and I'm reluctant to have a perception of lack of transparency. Though I also firmly believe that the audience is not a part of the committee. Mr. Cook had his hand up first. First, though, amongst the board, anybody else have anything else to say? Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I take the podium? I didn't come with a presentation, but so many things have been said. I'd like to clarify a few points.
You may, I request that you keep it
I'm trying to
non-disruptive,
keep
keep
it
it
within the timeframe
short.
we've been allowed.
If it does get it, I'll let you know.
Well, I listened to what Larry said, and he's correct on just about everything. Except he made a few points that aren't correct. They are correct technically, but he didn't use the same verbiage as some of the law. But here's the problem. He was telling you all about local public bodies. He's correct, 100%. Problem is, you're not a local public body. You're a political subdivision of the state. Makes all the difference in the world. Now, There's another few points, but that's the biggest point of it right there. I want to go through a couple of things that, different board members have said. One of them, said that worried about HIPAA. Who does HIPAA apply to? Anybody?
Radical.
That's right.
I mean,
Only the medical people, not the people on the other side. It applies to the doctors and nurses. It does not apply to anybody else.
No, you don't share medical.
The doctor or the nurse cannot share. So, making a point, HIPAA does not apply. Now, some of the information that this board is getting, the reason you're going to get this is because there was attendance at a meeting that noticed the malfeasance. Now, some of it's malfeasance, some of it is simply oversight. Let's go with one of the oversights at your very last meeting. This board approved a fence on Waco Mission. You all voted for it. But the chairman, I sat there, raised my hand to try to correct the information, was not allowed to speak. I went out and reviewed it on my own. Now, the first thing one of the things on your checklist is the property must be staked. I brought you pictures. It was not staked. So you don't know where the hell that fence is going. So another problem with that same property is there's a question of whether or not a third piece is even on the original blueprint. Now, Harry has said, oh, we've got all the records, we have all the documents. Well, I pulled your spreadsheet last week, and guess what? This same address on Waco Mich has 3 different applications, but there's only 2 files back there. So you're not getting all the information, and they are losing records. So, yes, this man's correct on one part, but not all of it. Political subdivision. Now, who should sit in the audience? You need to keep it open so anybody can walk in. Mr. Collins, you were talking to Nancy. I don't think you two were talking about the same thing. Nancy was, in my understanding, and I may be wrong because that's between you two, was saying that any property owner can talk to them and tell you what went wrong. What she didn't say is somebody just visiting can talk to you because they won't be able to know that. This is where things are found. This is one of the reasons for the blow up when a previous person on the board said, and I quote, "We'll do what we want to do," when I asked a simple question, are you going to present this to the board? They said, no, you are not getting true information. Now, as it's been standing with Nancy and Bernie and Steve, they're presenting you everything they can come up with. But some of the others are not, and have gone out of their way not to give you this. As a matter of fact, they have admitted on recordings that I have that they've been holding secret meetings in addition to the one that's being held. So they're just going around holding meetings whenever the hell they want to. Has nothing to do with volunteer or not volunteer. So shadow government. Some people would say Nazis, some say Gestapos. I'm not going to go down that. You pick the term you want to use. The meetings need to be open to the public. The public does not have to go. But you, the board, have been rubber stamping items that are coming from a committee that is not giving you all the information and are losing documents. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to talk to the citizens input, but this has to do with what we're discussing now. I'm Roger Lowe, if people don't know. I've been a member of the board, I've been a member of the Architectural Control Committee years ago, and here I am again on a committee.
we've got a group of volunteers, responsible citizens, trying to do the job you asked us to do, to give you recommendations on these things that the committee does. And that's all we do. We don't make any decisions. All we do, go through what we have, investigate what's going on, and present you with a recommendation. That I've just recently gotten more information on open meeting law. And if we have problems with our meetings at times, and we try to find a way to cure our problems, we need to sit down and do the job you asked us to do. But the one thing I would like to see you do is not make a decision as a board on open meetings. Let us as a committee make that decision. Because we're the ones that are having to do the work. That's,
Yeah, thank you. How many people over the last 6 months have walked into the advisory committee just to observe? Just to observe. How many people have come in just to observe the advisory committee that didn't have any business to conduct? So I would say, 3 or 4 in 6 months. 5. Okay. Oh. Go ahead, that's it. Steve?
My responsibility doesn't matter if it's 100, doesn't matter if it's 1. Accountability, even if that one person is worth to 100. You have to have open meetings, show that you have transparency, you have accountability, that you have your community in mind. Not for personal agenda, not for personality conflicts. I agree with Mr. Hofstadter. When I came as a volunteer here, it was because the board asked to volunteer. Am I correct or not?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So I volunteered. When I came to this advisory committee, I came as a volunteer, offer my assistance for whatever they might need. Mr. Hofstadter was a member of the board. Yes. Mr. Leoli was a member of the board. Randy, member of the board. No, you were when I came.
on the committee, I know.
Well, I mean, of a committee, that's what I mean, of committee. Okay, those 3 individuals. Your rules state for the committee that you're gonna have at least 3 appointed individuals or more. Doesn't say them anymore, just so you can have one. Okay, it also states in your rules that it is to be an open meeting. Okay, open meetings to the public, accountability again, transparency. That's what we want in this community. That's why I volunteered for it. I don't want to see this go backwards to 5 years ago or more, when there was all kinds of problems in this community. I want the best for this community because I believe in it. And I think everybody else does too. I'm not saying anything on board members and stuff like that, but I also feel that this board needs to make requirements like you have on yourselves, that if you miss three meetings within a certain period of time, you're voluntarily vacate your position on the board. And I don't think you need 5 to 8 people on the board, not the board, excuse me, committee. There we go, verbiage again. So, but I think you got a heck of a chairperson. I think you got another community member that's okay on the board, on a committee, I'd say. But I question some people's timing when they come back, doing my concern with these private meetings. Endorsements, so should I say they're not coming through the actual sanctioned meeting by this board. So think about that. Like I said, you're getting information that's not coming through a sanctioned board or sanctioned meetings, committee meetings. So that's what you need, community to be here. They make sure everything's on the up and up in this community. For a long time, it hasn't been. I'm done.
That was a meeting,
Go ahead,
all these
Dave.
meetings with the Open Meeting Act, those meetings can happen anytime, at any place without announcements. And the reason I called a meeting with some of the people is because of one individual who was bullying people. And we needed to see if we can get the committee back to where it was. Because we don't want to lose them, and some didn't attend because of the situation that happened. And we need to move on, but I think that, we may not get another member tonight because of the decision. And I don't know if I'll make that motion or not.
One more response to that, sir. I understand, but the personalities on both sides that need to work on, being an adult, deal with each other personally and respectfully, and deal with the issues at hand.
Let's move on. When the committee kind of blew up, we lost everything, and I ended up taking on the chairmanship. In doing so, without direction from the board, the committee still ran, and I took the position as chairman, like I had the authority and the responsibility to run it as I thought fit. When Nancy came to the committee, I thought fit to appoint her as chairman in my place. And I also alerted her at that time that as chairman, she still had the responsibility and the authority to run it as she saw fit. That is still the case until the board decides otherwise. So that comes down to then the board making the decision or not making the decision.
One correction that you didn't make that, when that committee was there with 5 people, those people elected her.
Yes,
Not
that's right.
you,
Now she is
The
formally
5 people elected.
she is formally
Yeah.
the chairman, and she still has
She's
authority.
the nicest one of the bunch of us.
Probably the most level-headed of them.
My response to Mr. Hofstadter on that, what meeting was that? That was a private meeting that was
No.
called, right?
No.
I don't remember that meeting.
No, it was
Okay.
no, that.
I stand corrected,
We
sir.
only had one.
I apologize.
Okay. So board action. We have probably, well, maybe no action, but that's to consider action. As far as closed versus open meeting, as well as how we attain committee members and responsibilities of other committee members. Open for discussion.
Well, I mean,
You
well, once again, I have no problem with removing a citizen from the meetings that is being belligerent at all. They start using foul language, any foul language, you guys get to make that decision, the ones that are appointed. Okay? They're using foul language, they're using aggressive tones, remove them from the board. Call the sheriff if you need to, if they don't leave the room. No problem whatsoever with that. However, I do have a problem if grown adults get down into the mud with the one being belligerent. Okay, there's no reason for that. None. The other thing that I would suggest, because I suggest we keep the meetings open. The audience can do just like they're doing right here. They're listening to everything. Everybody's being civil. There's no reason to close those meetings, in my opinion. The other thing is that I do believe we need to set some guidelines for members as far as how many meetings you can miss. I don't know if we need to go as strict as it is for board members because they're volunteers. And I think that there should be legitimate medical excuses for missing meetings. But I do think we should set some parameters for that, because if somebody leaves for a couple of years and then comes back, I don't think that they should just walk right back in as appointed, if they've been gone that long. I think they should have to reapply and get appointed again. I think that just keeps everything looking a little bit better. It doesn't look like, well, they left for this long and then all of a sudden they jump back in. Why did they jump back in? Was there something being made, a decision on their part? It starts looking a little suspicious, or it could look a little suspicious at that point. So I yield.
Jim, I just have a question. Roger, was there a set of bylaws for the CCAC?
I can't hear Jim.
Was there a set of bylaws that the CCAC had back when you were on the board?
You know, I'll be truthful with you, I can't remember. Yes,
There was? Okay. What I can do is I can look them up and give them to Nancy and review what the bylaws are, and if they're up to date, make them up to date as to whatever that.
Bring them before the board to be approved.
Yeah.
So comes down to opening versus closed meeting. Technically, it would be a closed meeting even if I have an audience, if the audience can't participate. So would it be acceptable to allow audience in the meetings, but definitely controlled by the chairman that they do not participate? Would that be acceptable? Now that takes control. I see no reason, I know Nancy's, you can be mean.
There's all about it.
Or would that be acceptable? Steve?
I think that's a good point. I think, that, she has the authority to do that, and that, she should, and I think, that covers all the bases, like somebody's out of line, if you just remove them from the area. Or have them removed, if they don't want to be removed, have law enforcement removed.
I think you can, if you have the committee members present and people are sitting in the audience, they must have a reason to sit there because they have something that pertains to them personally. If she does not recognize them, they cannot say anything. And I'd go along with that.
I think Mr. Hofstadter, I agree with you on the point. I think it should be like, when we get to this area where the community is involved, some open question and answer, back and forth. I think that would be appropriate and meet the community's needs as far as getting involved and the atmosphere of the decisions being made.
So Steve, I guess it's back and forth, I'm saying that we don't even allow that, or it's up to chairman, whether the chairman allows that or not. So just
Right.
back and forth.
If it's pertainable to something that's going on.
If,
If it's other stuff, I agree with you.
if the chairman so chooses, even if there is something going on, the chairman would be the one that would control whether there's anything said from the audience.
I agree. I think that's.
Rob, did you have something?
I do. I would like to address something Mr. Collins said about removing the person that's being belligerent. Now, if you really feel that way, you've got two that threaten violence
Okay.
that are actually volunteers.
Yes.
Are you going to eliminate the volunteers as well?
See, and that's my issue right there.
Please. So I'm not talking about anything in the past. I think she's more than capable of handling this. I was talking about every person in the room. Board member, or I'm sorry, committee member, non-committee member, audience. If you can't act civilized, there's no reason for you to be there. Right? And I do believe she can probably handle it. I'll bet you can. And if they don't voluntarily leave, then you have law enforcement come in and remove them. And at that point, as far as I'm concerned, and I would support it, the board has to make the decision, I would support putting a permanent ban on that. Because if they can't keep their cool at that time, then they're just gonna lose it later on. I yield.
To ask what Greg said, also, if there's somebody that's in the board or the committee from making progress, it's still.
It's disruptive, that's disruptive.
Even if it's not volatile or anything else, it's still, you can't stop the meeting because you want to make a point on something.
That comes back to the very basic, my basic premise is that the audience does not participate unless asked.
Unless asked to.
And that becomes the strength of the show.
Just real quick, Nancy can control whether or not they've been talking too long. Or, if she wants to allow, you do it all the time. Cut people off. Hey, you've been yakking too long. Let's stop.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah. But I mean, you know, that as the chairwoman, that would be your responsibility. And just tell them, hey, look, we've got your point. You've made your point. Now we're moving on.
Maybe tell them to shut up.
So it depends on the board action. The board can take action. So we could, as a resolution, we could define the actions of the committee or how the committee is to be run, or we could not. If we do not, then we are still given naturally the responsibility to do so. So maybe what I'm asking is, how does the board feel? Do we need to take action, or can we allow Nancy to run it as she sees fit?
Yes. So I do think we should codify this stuff. Still give her the responsibility to take care of it. But I think if it's codified per se in bylaws, then she's got something she can, or not just her, you know, I'm sure she's not gonna be there forever. You know, the next chairperson that takes over will have a set of bylaws basically to follow. And if we've already got some, you know, we can change them here and there when we need to, you know, make suggestions to us, and we codify it to where there is no question about this stuff.
One of the comments that was made to me by a board member was that, and I think that that board member, had confidence in the chairman, and that was concerned about what happens if we get a different chairman who doesn't have the strength.
If we replace that,
That's what we got. I agree with that. What we got. So we need to actually, we need to pass a resolution on these issues. That for them until the next meeting. I don't think we want to tonight. Until the next meeting, I think that we are actually one of the as you see fit. We also need to decide the other issues of how we are going to acquire volunteers, what we're going to expect from volunteers as responsibility and authority. And would it be acceptable to have within that same resolution, have the fact, or have it stated that a volunteer cannot miss 6 meetings, whatever, without communication, without an excused absence, whatever.
well,
The thing about it is that we can have excused absence. They're volunteers, so they can have excused absence, but there needs to be communication.
Well, there was communication with me because I knew why they weren't coming.
Nobody-
But I think that we need to find out if there's bylaws back there. We need to see some things and not reinvent the wheel, but see what we need to do and just update on what making it work. I think we're moving there. We're gonna move there.
So just one final comment. I just don't want to see it go to closed meetings. I don't think that there's any reason to do that. If there's a bad actor coming in, remove him or her. If they just won't behave, remove them. And in that way, because, you know, especially me, I don't know how many of the rest of you board members, I'm sure the rest of the board members do. But I don't know how many people I get in the gun shop coming up to me and saying, hey, Greg, this is what's happening, you know, this is a concern of mine, this is what's going on. And I like to have concerned citizens come too. It's nice. It's some of the few ways I get some of my information. Because, I mean, nothing against these guys, but I'm not gonna get a lot of the information that I'm gonna get from concerned citizens. I'm not gonna get that information. So I want citizens to be able to come to those meetings and see how they're conducted and be able to relay that information if they have a concern.
Anything else from board? We need a response for to Nancy.
No, I'll give her some of mine.
It works, it works. I have one question. You said a workshop, we have enough meetings for garden?
I
not Florida.
Yeah, Florida.
So that's, TCAAC, the audience. Any more input? Bob?
Trying to see how I want to phrase this to be nice. You know for a fact, I pointed out that, and I showed you the discrepancy in the spreadsheet. There needs to be an audit of the spreadsheets to see what else is wrong. And you have a conflict of interest I turned into you.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on. As there is nothing to approve, nothing that rocks the board to approve tonight, we'll close the study session and move into the regular board meeting of January 31st, 2023 at 7:00. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Join more of the private lessons you so choose. Thank you. Let the minutes show that we have full board, all board members present. If I get approval of the agenda. So moved. Sure. Get a second.
Also.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. We have two public hearings.
Yes.
Close the regular meeting and open the public hearings for moratorium of the caps and the CCAAC, or CACC.
Let's do that.
That's just opening
for the moratorium. Two public hearings, okay. Moratorium of caps.
Hey, like I said, we, last December or end of November, was brought to from the board that we were looking at a moratorium. There was discussion. We did put a moratorium on for the month of December that we were not going to allow any more caps unless a house was already approved by CCAAC and the board. They are all done with that. We're right now, as of January 1st till now, we have 4 caps, I believe, that have been purchased. And we're at that point where the board wanted to revisit whether we need to go anymore. It was that if anybody who wanted the cap, they could have bought this last month as many caps as they wanted.
Yes, so input from the audience. Bob?
I'd like to stress to the board that you need to sell every drop of water you can get, because you lost $350,000 in the 2021 budget, because that's the last audit, and now you're trying to fix the 2022 budget, which is not balanced. So you need to sell everything. Now, for the people that say you don't have enough water, you have the water. This board agreed to bring a second source on the line and then shut down that project. A simple, inexpensive fix as a backup to bring source on the line. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Greg?
That's what I'm hearing now to speak about the mandatorium. The more players you have coming in, bigger your income. And right now, it's the infrastructure that's a big problem here. And people drawing the taps need to know this. This is what we talked about in your committee, board. It's about letting the people know and looking to the future, 20 years, 10 years down the road, and we need these other taps coming in right now. If we cut them off now, it's not gonna stop the leaks. And it's not that we're selling so much water, that we're taking all of our water, it's because of the leak. And we need more people and help with that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Board?
Yeah.
You may.
So, yeah, I know I'm probably getting old with this. I think we're causing a problem where one doesn't exist. We need the taps. We, need to grow. Because if we stop growing, we're just gonna die. And we've got to have the ability in the future to sustain this infrastructure. One of the problems that we've got as a community, and I think probably Greg here will agree with me, and he, just so everybody knows, he works for the,
Colorado Rural Water.
yeah, Colorado Rural Water, so he's got a little bit of expertise in this. The more houses we have per mile on the infrastructure, the better we can maintain it, the cheaper the water bills can be. One of our problems is we've got miles and miles and miles of infrastructure and very few houses on it. If you got very few houses on miles and miles of infrastructure, your water bills have to be higher in order to maintain that infrastructure. And so far to this date, we still aren't collecting what we need to be collecting to keep the infrastructure up to date. So we've got some tough choices to make, and I think doing a moratorium is the absolute worst thing we can do. I yield.
To clarify, we are after not talking, we can't have a moratorium. Legally, we would be in trouble. So to clarify, the moratorium word probably is not appropriate. More of a controlled growth issue would be more appropriate. But we're not talking about moratorium as much as just controlling the number. So anything else from the board? My position, I'm concerned that right now, we don't have a problem. But I'm concerned that we are kind of kicking this thought process down the road if we don't at least address it. I don't care if we have, or fill in the blanks here, have 50. That we could have 50 tons, I don't care, 100, whatever. But what I propose is that this resolution opens the door and it opens the discussion. If we have this resolution, that means that the following boards, and believe it or not, there will be following boards, are going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to open the thought process and open the communication. I'm not at all proposing that we try to shut it down, not at all, because you're right, we need to go. But I'd like to establish this precedent to open the discussion up for the future boards. And it could be 5 years, whatever, but somebody's gonna have to deal with it. Jim?
I agree with Greg in the sense that we do have a lot of water lines out there on streets that there is nothing and nobody. If we do have a breakout in that area, it might not be located or reported for a period of time, which is a lot. So, I agree on all that aspect of it. I really do. And I agree. We need growth to continue to move forward. I'm not on either side myself. It's whatever the board feels that needs to be worked on. The extra capital to improve all the projects that we're working on, we need it. Yes. At this time, we have, we're in the process of probably about a $6 million project with the gas system. We're in progress with the dam, which is, could ultimately be $10.5 million. You won't be able to get all that grant money, but you still need to have matching funds to do it.
Did you have something, Steve?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is there a set number of taps that we have left in the patrol growth that we know of right now, Director, or?
I know Gary, Holiday at one point said that there was something that was there. I don't know. I haven't been able to find it, and I'm just going off of hearsay on that.
The reason why I asked that is I was watching the special on the news on, Colorado Springs. They passed an amendment up there to their growth initiative that require more growth when they would have to have 128% of water in a reservoir to support that growth. So that's what they voted on there. I'm just wondering, I don't think we're at that point if we'll understand that we have water issues. Yeah, there's a lot of leaks. There is a lot of lines all over the place, like you're saying. Because I've seen them when I've gone out there and just been on the roads back there. And I can see where nobody could find them. If you had a break out there, it'd be a long time for you to recognize. So my question is, can that work together to control growth like he's saying? Like when we need to get that money in there so we can get the lines fixed, get the growth going, and get the population coming in for the community.
Bob?
This is a very quick point that Mr. Coulter can answer better than I can. But to my knowledge, the distance, as Ms. Collins was talking about, between the houses is also a factor that can cause failures in your tests because of the residuals and the chemicals.
Sure, our district is so big that the chlorine, by the time it gets to the end of the point, it's no longer able to fight for the disinfection.
Rick?
Thank you, sir. I just got one question that doesn't need to be answered, but thought about. You know, the district has collected well in excess of over $1 million in AOS fees. So as a property owner that's paid those AOS fees for 20 years, availability of service fees, when I come and request a tap and you say, no, we're not going to sell you a tap, I see this class action lawsuit coming.
That's
You know,
that actually kind of why I clarified that moratorium.
or,
It's the inappropriate word. That's
and I understand it, you know, only so many taps can be installed every month because you don't have enough people working enough infrastructure. If somebody wanted 100 taps installed this month, you couldn't even get it to do it. So it should be self-contained, but I just, what do you tell this poor guy to pay that AOS fee for 20 years? No, we're not going to give you a water tap.
Yeah.
He might be one of those belligerent guys that has to be thrown out.
We also talked about the cost of building and the interest rates are also controlling the different, there's gonna be less building because it's so expensive right now.
to my point though, is that I don't think we're doing it right now. As far as I'm concerned, we're doing it 5 years from now.
So we did talk about reevaluating.
And we can just push it down the road. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay, yes.
And, I will say this. And again, my concern, I've tried to clarify, we've had this discussion. It's not about shutting off growth. It's about what we do until we have the water to actually take care of it. Just the first step, the dam project, I'm not using profanity here, so don't ask me. It takes 272. If we use the numbers that Jim gave us just a few minutes ago, we would have to sell about 1,500. So what is the average family now in the United States? 2.6 or 2.4. My point is that in the 3 to
5 years before we get the Lake Becker project phase 1 of 3 done, are we gonna have enough water for the people who already own homes? You can have all the water you want. We have all the water rights we need, but you have to have a place to store it and be able to send it from tap to tap. You know, we talked about set Jim said at the start of this, he said, you know, we've averaged 25 to 30 taps for the last 4 years, but this month we had 4, so that comes out 36 to 48 for this year. And again, I don't care is the wrong word. I certainly okay. I believe totally what Sarah said about interest rates and all that. I looked into doing a property thing and they told me the interest rates and I quickly hung up and told my wife that company had closed. But, that's my concern. And I kind of like your idea where you put it on the books at whatever number you want, knowing you won't hit it, but it forces you to look at that. And that's my concern. I don't want any kind of restrictions. I want natural restrictions for the area, but I am concerned with, you know, the board members handing out water, I mean, at the True Value Park lot to take care of emergencies.
I know, and with our average, 4 seems like a lot, but every time builders start thinking about building in spring, they're very busy.
One other thing I'd like to say is, Terry, I hope I didn't misunderstand you, but those taps shouldn't be going to build the dam. Those taps are actually put forward for the expansion of the water plant and the wastewater plant.
Yeah,
Not to build it. Yeah, but that's where this town has been in trouble before, was that we were spending our tap fees and other fees, which now, and one other thing I'd like to say about this community, it's good to see these people here. Where I see it failing is what Greg Collins was saying. When people don't come up and say, hey, what's going on? I don't care if they don't see my view of it. I think we ought to get all of that. You should listen to those sides. And when you don't get that, because something's going south. This town is finally coming up and looking at our water issues and addressing the infrastructure. We know that's the cost that it's gonna really blow our minds once we get those assessed, hopefully this year.
With a quick response to Mr. Kraft, 5 taps would be more than enough to bring your second source online. Thank you.
More input. Okay, let's move on to the second one. I closed the public hearing on the tap management, not moratorium, tap management. Now open the public hearing for the public county zoning classification. Go ahead, Jim.
That was, we got that again, it was accepting Trumbull County, if you are under residential, to take their classification as residential, if it's commercial, as to take their recommendations as it would fall under Trumbull County zone. So if it was a C1,
That was, for the commercial use?
Yeah.
Yes, for the county, B1, B4, and for their definition of license. Any questions? Do we have rollers on that?
no, I don't. I don't have them because I wanted to go through the hearing to see whether how you want to.
That's what I have.
Go ahead.
I think that would be the absolute best and easiest way for us to do this, is to just because our covenants do not define it. We take Pebble County definition and just make our mirror. Because our covenants don't define it.
Steve?
I agree with you, and I agree with Mr. Rector, that, Humboldt County, our covenants supersede Humboldt County, because we had an issue where we talked about, comic boxes. This is a good example of it. That Humboldt County says they can have it, blah, blah, blah. Our covenants is, that we made the decision, it's gotta look a certain way. Well, that's a good example that when we get something from county, and we need to take a look at it, see if it meets what we have in our covenant. I think that's up to the,
Understood. This is this is simply, and for traffic control, it's simply the definition of, in our covenant, that talks about properties that are set aside for commercial use.
right,
And there's no definition of what commercial use is. So what this would do is this would codify that the commercial use is per Trumbull County definition of B1, B4, and I don't remember the other place.
Or, and, private sales.
Yeah, just, but it would B1, B4, and then C1 or something. That was for neighborhood business, basically. So commercial use would be that. It would not, beyond that, it would be nothing.
So in essence of it is, I could build a house on it and run a hair salon out of it under B4
right.
or whatever.
Depending on public county.
You know, if you're saying
And they
about,
accept the massage, is however else.
yeah,
Right.
but that's out of NAR. So that wouldn't be covered under.
Input. Well,
Well, see where you're going with this now. You have to remember the covenants trump. You can use their definition, but his scenario doesn't fit. So when the covenant says strictly must be used for commercial use, you can't then blend the two, because all they have to do is shut down the commercial use 3 days later.
other input? Okay. Close the public hearing for public county zoning classification and reopen the regular meeting of the board of directors, policy Metropolitan District. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, next approval of minutes. You have minutes for a regular study meeting session on January 10th and CCAAC meeting minutes for January 12th, 19th, and 26th.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes for the January regular meeting and the January 12th, 19th, and 26th. CCAAC. One second. There's no discussion involved here, I don't think, but there is a correction I think that needs to be made in the first one, the board of directors study session. It's not Steve Marone, it's James Marone. James Marone.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, there, anything wrong with it?
His twin brother. So,
Let's see if she got it right here. Minutes.
could I get everybody,
You're John second.
yeah, everybody, approve of that? Can we approve the minutes with the correction? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, next you have bills payable. That's under 7 in the book, the second reading. You noticed you did have a bill for the service center. We had a transfer case that went out in a truck, and that's the truck that we pulled the trailer with the biosolids and stuff. So $4,200 having towed a new transfer case.
Question from the board?
Yeah, I got a question. $4,200 for a transfer case, who did the job?
Service center, they probably around and even anything, they couldn't find it.
What your vehicle is this?
So, five,
05 or 04. 2,500.
Yeah,
I put a transmission in my
no, transfer case, not transmission, totally different thing.
I had mine done 4 years ago, and it cost me, 38. Well, I don't know, it's insurance. And called Devin, and said, no. That's 42, and that's a pretty tough.
So Jim, you did shop. So I guess I do have a couple questions here. The Sandersville gas, not Sandersville, gas, or natural gas, golf course pro shop. $2,500.
Yeah. Like 7 page. You know, that. Look at the,
Yeah, that's it. No, I don't, I understand that that building may be,
No, not 25.
not, that's
That's.
water treatment plant, of course, I understand we use dams is.
yeah, that's,
But
the
that's,
open area.
that seems it too high. If you would, if you check on that,
Yeah, I will.
we have a tap fee refunds.
Yes. This was a lady that was bought it back 2 years ago. She was planning on building and moving out here. I believe her husband got sick and then ended up dying, which she was.
Is that awesome? That we will refund that fee?
And also policy was to do that.
Oh,
That, part of that, I guess, one of the things that bothers me is that that's, $16,500. Shouldn't that have been brought to the board? Oh, good enough for it, man.
yeah, but,
Yeah, so. That's conservative, I think it probably should. It's done, and that's,
Since I looked through, rules and regs, and it goes on, say, over that, you know, not.
man,
part of that is, of course, I don't, and the policy part of that, for think about it, taps, they can sell those taps. So I'm not so sure we should be in the business of refunding taps. But, but,
I mean, she'll sell, I mean, if she's gonna move, the land be sold, and not to buy half for.
you can sell a tap. You can sell a tap with the land.
and don't we have a policy though that they're only good for a year? Once you purchase them.
No, you still have that money on the book. You still have, they still pay you that money for that tax. On the piece of property. So if somebody came in and bought that property, they'd have to pay the extra difference between what the tax.
So I've been, maybe I'm totally losing my mind here, but I've heard several times, and maybe I'm just getting senior citizen here since I hang out with the rest of you. But I know that I've heard in the past, you guys talk about got a 1 year to build, or got 1 year to put the tap in after you pay for the tap.
Or else they pay the new tap.
Okay,
That's what you read that.
That's the part that I didn't understand. So if they pay 16,500 to tap last year and they don't build within a year and the new tap fee is 20 grand, they gotta make up the difference to put in the tap, but the rest transfers with it. Thank you for clarifying that, and I apologize for my scene.
Janitorial
Okay,
supply
we'll
to the golf course. Janitorial supplies to the golf course for $414.
Yeah, they, bought, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, cleaning up for opening the spring. So that they'll have to put it there and ready to do
Okay, so that came from Home Depot.
Yes. You notice we use Amazon, we use Home Depot, we use Lowe's to shop around to get.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the questions I had on. Can I get a motion to pay the bill?
So move.
Can I get a second?
I'll make it.
Move the second. All in favor, pay the bill, say aye. Opposed? Let's pay the bill.
Financial report, we have December financials there, we have a standpipe. Now they're still regulating it, trying to get up to the, 0.03. For that. And then we had our budget to go down. We're still trying to fine tune it, get it right where we need it. I know he's gonna calibrate it again tomorrow. First thing,
When you calibrate, it goes up to the new rate.
yes, it should have been at the new rate in January, but this was December. December, if you see, it dropped below. And you don't know why, but yeah, November, we had it at, 0.026. Last month, on the average was 0.020. It's just one of those deals that you can't really put a function a number without an outcome. You have water, foam, and I don't have Gary's report. He was stuck in Texas today. He was on vacation and couldn't get out of where he was at. Got an airplane to Texas and was stuck there.
No, if he's on his way back, he got a flight late night.
He was stuck. Then you have your water report, then you have the income summary from last year. From last year to this year, our debt position was 341,305 last year. This year we're at 1,927,502.
That's with the grant money, and it's not, the expenses for the grant money are not shown in this, which really a lot really.
Say that again, Ron.
So the grant money is included in the revenue of water, but the expenses, that projects are not done, they're sitting on the balance sheet, so the expenses are not included in your operating cost for water
Pulled out,
for the grant money.
which means pulled out about 887,000.
That shows up in the financials.
Well, that's why you're in that position. It won't show up because it's construction in progress.
Questions? I guess I had a question on the water usage, that first report. we could, we have not in the past been including the water to the water treatment plant or water user, not treatment plant, or the wastewater treatment plant, or the golf course.
And then with the golf course, we just found out about it, that meter, and it runs the front side sprinklers. Front side sprinklers are run by hydraulics. They have a half-inch line that comes out and goes to each control box. And then the control boxes, it's a quarter-inch line that turns on and shuts off your sprinkler heads. In the past, they have it at one time running off of raw water, but what they were having problems with is clogging the filters to control the sprinklers. And so once that would clog, sprinkler would end up going on. Basically what it is that quarter-inch line was charged to the sprinkler, to hold it closed until that opens, until that pressure's off, but then it goes up. I do not know the number on it, it's about the time we found out was that they were shutting down for winter. So this is something that we're looking at when we start golf up to see what kind of usage they use on. We do have meters on all the other golf course locations, from the maintenance to the restroom to the clubhouse. And this is the only place that we have potable water that we were looking at. And there is a meter, so we are taking a meter reading on it.
So we are now, yes, and we will be charging a golf course for that.
Well, we will see what we use.
What about the sewer plant?
Sewer plant, they take a reading on it every month.
Just recently, this is just a recent,
These are some of the things that as Yvonne and Christie and mostly Yvonne has said, well, do we have meters here? Do we have things that we're missing out on? And these are some of the things that we have been missing out on. And we're trying to get the numbers of water sold and stuff so that we're closer to our number of what we do. Yeah.
Any other questions? No.
Okay, next I have, the dam report. I did do a letter to Mr. Perry. He wants a monthly update on where we're going. His letter, sorry for the misunderstanding on monthly updates. I will give you a brief update to progress we have made to secure funding for Beckwith Dam project. In October, I applied for Colorado Water Plan grant to the Arkansas Valley Basin Arkansas Basin Roundtable. After review with Gracie and members of the Colorado Water Conservancy Board, it was recommended that we apply for the Water Supply Reserve Fund grant and the CWP grant to the tune of $150,000. So we were put off to November application period, and we had a budget form to be filled out to move forward to the ABRT committee, which was exhibit B of this application. Mr. Graber was to complete and he'll get back to me in time in December. In the meantime, the board decided to hire Tennessee Engineering and to assist on the December 27th meeting. Since that time, we have been sharing information about applying for WSRF and CWP grants for design and engineering for the project, which the deadline was January 15th. Tennessee will be presented to the ABRT review committee at the end of the month for a support letter to the CWCB. which will be reviewed in February meeting of the Arkansas Basin Roundtable to accept or decline to move forward to the CWCB meeting. In April, if accepted by the Arkansas Basin Roundtable Board, we will continue to USDA and NOAA will be asked for funding, which the USDA application is in process of completion, and Tim Marshall has been asked several times as to assist in project with the follow-up to assist. With the help of the council, they might have a better relationship to get funding with sincerely. The next page is doing a spreadsheet for you guys now to show where we're at. We're showing the level of the lake. So on the 5th, you have 13 feet, 2 inches. 12th, you have 13 feet, 1 inch. 19, 13.4, and 13.4 on the 25th. The 4-inch was dry all the way through. 6 inch, you had 1 minute, you had 950 on the 5th. On the 12th and the 19th, you had a 1,000 milliliters, and then on the 25th, you had 950 milliliters. The seep has been dry for all those reports. The weir has not changed. It's still at 1.3 for the last 4 weeks. Pit is dry, and the inspections are good. I also did turn, and on the back page, if you look at it, it has, I'm going to do the monthly average per meter. Yeah, so that way you guys can see the same as on the weekly reports, where it's staying, where it's moving, if it's going up and down, or if it's staying the same. So, okay, and you have the pictures of the gallons of the internet included too. So we're on our way. I still have communication with Amanda. She's had a couple other reports that she wanted. We were able to get got a letter from DOW and a letter of support from ACE, and I was working on High Country. We were going to do a letter of support for the dam project and also San Juan Bank. So those are letters of support that I've gotten so far. I also have one from a resident of the town that's been a long time resident. This forward. I did talk to the time today, and they have like 14 letters of support, and and they thank you for that. There's plenty of letters of support. I think that helps a lot. They feel like they have to do a good one. So they are moving forward. So we have progress on that whole project. That's all I have for community, because at this time. This committee reports in the newsletter. Yes, we did. We have it out. Who's next? You did this one. Who's the next one? I'm off the hook. Yeah, who's next? I think so. Very.
Yes,
This one.
possibly till the end of this term.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Is that it for committees? Yep. Okay, I'll read the bigger state. Statement of conduct of the meeting. In order for the business of the board to be conducted in the most effective and expeditious manner, it is necessary that all persons present maintain a demeanor of civility for the board, staff, and each other. Conduct that appears threatening or aggressive will not be tolerated. Shouting, speaking out of order, or the use of offensive gestures similar are not acceptable. Such behavior shall constitute the forfeiture of your right to remain in attendance and may, as a point of order, brought to the board's attention by council or any board member, including the chairperson, result in being asked to leave the meeting by the chairperson or, on your refusal, being escorted out of the meeting by the proper authority. Okay, Roger?
It pretty well covered me in the, first part of the meeting, so I won't need to talk.
And Steve? We do. Okay. Bob? Cook?
Under that topic on you,
Okay, under water?
there's other people in front of me.
No, you have,
Okay,
you have one here for water costs.
yes. Can I speak, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you may, go ahead.
Okay, I had put down cost of water. What's that in reference to? I called today just to verify your price of raw water at the, standpipe in the library, which is the line that feeds the golf course and fills your Pueblo County Roads Department, ranchers, and other contractors. That cost of water is $14 a thousand. Now, I've always said from day one that the golf course needs to pay for every drop of water it uses. And they want to claim all they use is raw, so let's limit the discussion to just raw. So if we limit the discussion to just raw water, they could never pay $14 a thousand. I would offer the board, a suggestion that you give them a bulk rate. For instance, over at the standpipe, I think it's $5 a thousand, not the overall cost, because there we're paying, in essence, a, base fee, but it's rolled into the overall 1,000-gallon cost. So there you're paying $30 a thousand, but only $5 a thousand is the actual cost of water. The rest is, basically a base fee. You could do the same for the golf course. However, you could even go down, say, to what we used to pay $4 a thousand or something reasonable, but it has to be reasonable. And, the reason I bring this up is you're operating an enterprise in the water department. You are operating an enterprise in the golf department. By state law, you're supposed to have a balanced budget. Now, your budget is balanced, but your accounting isn't. And that is found in the audit. So if you're supposed to be at least at break even, let's just call break even, not even making a profit. You're $350,000 in the hole on last audit. You're not allowed by law to lose money intentionally. So you should be charging everybody that uses every drop of water within the district a reasonable fee. I yield on that topic.
Okay, Mr. put her name down. Not here. Great.
Yeah, I'd like to say one thing about the infrastructure coming up. There's a bipartisan bill coming out. This is a once in a lifetime deal. A bunch of money that the government is getting for infrastructure. You only got 5 years to get it in. It's gonna be 3 to 5 years before we get our water plant fixed to take care of our disinfection byproducts. We need to get this assessment done this year. I know we got it on the book. But one thing I don't see in this town and with the board is a mission and a vision statement stating that we will stay in compliance. And this means getting our infrastructure, knowing where every manhole in the sewer line is, knowing the condition of each run of that pipe in the same way, each valve, whether it works or not, along with the water lines and how much water we're actually losing. And this is happening in a lot of small districts, and they're getting it done within 6 months. You got 10 square miles. Most districts are quite a bit smaller. But this is, I think, a mission and vision statement stated on there so that, as you were saying, Greg, the people can have a voice and say, where are we on this? With timeline and a team or a vision and people who are held accountable. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Next, David, going?
Yes, my issue is on
water that we're losing? And, why aren't we, addressing it any sooner than we are? So I know the residents at 6943 Terresla Drive, they reported this issue before Christmas. They said somebody drove out there in the truck, stopped, didn't even get out, looked at it, and, drove off. The people that lived there, he actually dug a couple of feet down and he come upon water. So the water was coming up. I have the pictures. And so even them, they're wondering why isn't something being done? And we're paying for this treated water. So, I mean, a month, how much water have we lost? So I think that issues like this, they should be responded to immediately. You know, so, that was my issue. What was the address again? It's, 6943 Teresa. They I have all the pictures, they seen the ground was wet and, they started, investigating themselves. They've called it in and, no response. So, now that, like he said, he dug a couple of feet down and it filled up with water. And so and it's not on their property. So, it's an issue. Thank you. We need to. Yes.
The reason we haven't done anything is we had about 3 foot in tank 3, which we needed to build up to do it because tank 3 is the one that covers that area. We didn't want the residents to run out of water, so we're right now about 18 foot, which would be disinfecting our new line tower going in, which we're going to probably lose about 5 foot when we do that.
Probably lose close to 7 to 8 foot.
And that, and by shutting off that line and draining it and fixing the problem which we feel right now, it's just a sap cattle, a cat saddle that is leaking. It isn't a major bust or anything that we're losing a lot of water, that we're monitoring on a day-by-day basis to, when we get to 20 feet, we can close it down and do the repairs we need. So we haven't had it.
You're saying, yeah,
Because what we had was, we had also our 2 pumps that we pump water from 1 to 4 up. They both seized on us, so we got them fixed. We were pulling water down from 3, that's why we got down so low in tank 3. Just pulling water from 3 to 4 to help keep the system where nobody was out of water.
Okay, I think we get the picture there. I think what we're missing there is communication.
Yeah.
So that should, we should have better communication.
I tried to reach out because there have been people that have said, well, he's telling me this. Well, have him call me and I'll explain the whole situation.
We dropped the ball there. Communication. Okay.
So, you're almost there then.
We're almost there. We're almost there to
That's almost,
probably within a week.
that's nothing right.
Who's next, Jim?
Next. I have Bob Cook, heating costs.
This has come up during the meeting, slipped it into the notes there. I wanted to have the board reflect on what I consider ignorant contracts. Stop and think about when you decided to give that building free heating, that you're not complaining about the heating cost. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think that Mr. Cook was referring just basically to the lease. Okay. The lease for the golf course. Next.
All right, I don't have anything under change reports except for the resolution for the handbook, which if you the copy of it. I'm gonna show you those going to be made. Okay, agenda items. You have, property offer of Unit 5, Lot 26. Like I said, with it, they're offering $4,200. It has no water and sewer.
I get a motion.
I make I make a motion that we approve the sale of lot 26 in unit 5 for 4,200.
Yes. Move the second. Discussion. We better get, this cross back here before we,
Yeah, vote
any discussion off the door. Which is,
on it. So, yeah,
yes, you know.
so what's your feeling on this?
You'd like that.
Good price. You're feeling the same? Thank you.
Like you own?
Your feeling don't count, but okay, you can give it.
Normally we're selling a lot with water and sewer for anywhere from $75 to $4,000.
75.
$7,500 to $5,000. And without water and sewer, rather than have that many officers.
Right.
You're right.
We have a huge, the vast majority, if I'm not mistaken, are without water too. And those usually we don't get them wrong.
Usually we go through Pakistan.
I just think we aren't charging enough for our property, for land in general. If this were to go to be listed to somebody in Florida, it'd be listed at 9,000. Now, I understand it wouldn't sell anybody locally, it probably wouldn't sell in Florida either, but it'd be listed much higher. I try to keep pushing the prices higher on these lots, but I understand I'm trying to get an MLP. So, any more questions, discussion? Speak up, please.
If I was know this, I looked at for two. It's not, there's no utility, you can, you so long as the utilities there, they're not gonna, it'll just sit.
Anything else?
There's somebody who wants to pretend.
It's all the people.
At least this way, I bet you they could do a lot line vacation.
Call the question.
Mr. Offset, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Ms. Hubbard? Yeah. Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Kraus? Of course, the chair votes no. It passes.
Okay, next we have resolution 04 2023 amending the 2022 budget.
Make a motion that we pass resolution 04 2023 amending the 2022 budget.
I'll second.
Move in second discussion. Jim, this has mistakes.
Yes. I have the one that I've got to change in section 2. Golf and property.
Should that be included in yours?
Please.
What the corrections made to us, the corrections on section 2.
One second, statements. When does this need to be done? Oh.
getting it in
Yeah.
and we should try to get it done as soon as possible. Because this is good.
Soon as we pull all the figures together, should do that. But, closer to the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay,
So in section 2, one way we state what the corrections are made, what changes we have to make in section 2.
Secondary, instead of water, we would put salt, and instead of wastewater, we put copper.
okay, so question, discussion? Let's see, so. So the motion is to approve this resolution, and the amendment is to approve it with the corrections of section 2.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Ross, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Ross,
Yes.
Chair votes yes, Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Okay, next you have, resolution 05 dash 2023 appropriating the funds of money.
Gentlemen, I move we accept resolution 05 2023 appropriating the sum. You second it? Very good, okay. Any discussion, questions? All right, let's vote. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Hofstadter?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Okay, next you have resolution 06 2023 transfer of CTF funds.
Make a motion that we accept resolution 06-2023 transfers.
I second the motion. Moving second, discussion? That's what. Ms. Hunter? Mr. Hofstadter?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus? Yes. Chair votes yes. Okay.
Okay, next I have amending, resolution 07 2023 amending personnel handbook.
Make a motion that we accept resolution 07-2023 amending personnel.
That's it. Moving second, discussion? So Jim, I've been thinking about this since, study session. So we're basically changing the entire compensation policy for one person.
No, it was there. You had part-time people that were still gaining, sick time and leave time. Or part-time actually was gaining it.
So we're putting it into the rule, the handbook, what we were already doing.
It's just a clarification, because Jim and I read it, disagree on it, so we went to the attorney to clarify it so that there's really no questions. But it was an existing policy that we just.
It was more on the side of, if you have somebody that's working at least 33 hours or more, the benefits were offered. It also was holidays. You know, if you have somebody that's working 32, 34 hours, or 32 hours, and somebody was working, say, the 20 hours a week, they get the holidays where that is working over the 33 hours, he gets the holidays, or you need to work. So, thank you.
Oh, in the past, we have been paying somebody holiday pay if they work 20 hours.
No.
We are going to now.
No.
Well, a percentage of
Over-
holiday pay.
On the first day.
But were we in the past paying a percentage of holiday pay?
No.
So we're changing the policy so that as a part-time employee, you're considered a part-time employee if you're less than, or if you're, even if you're less than 33 hours, Whereas in the past, you're a part-time employee only if you worked minimum 33 hours.
Still, there's a difference. We don't have that many part-time employees. Given, but, and the other thing about it was seasonal is different than the part-time.
They're temporary.
Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah, I understand that.
so it's more or less a breakout time. And yeah, we do have somebody that we bring in as a part-time. To, you know, would you want them there working too? If they're only working 3 hours a day and the office is closed, you want everybody getting salaries. So that's the other aspect. You get that percentage, it's broken down by percent. As the hours worked, and how much time you get in work.
I struggle with this. I don't think I like the thought that somebody worked 10 hours a week. Or whatever. We haven't established what level of a part-time employee we start paying benefits. We start paying benefits, according to this, we start paying benefits on 60 minutes worth of work.
Like leave, well, sick time, vacation time in proportion to.
Correct.
what
I
they-
understand the percentages,
um,
but we start paying, we do start paying benefits. It would only be 10 cents,
With
but we start paying
COVID,
benefits.
with COVID, you've already done. With COVID, you've already done that because even your seasonal employees and stuff.
mhm.
That was actually put into law, I think, by the state, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, that was actually put into law by the state.
whether they're
They're earning
part-time.
sick time only.
Any questions, other questions from the board? Discussion. Let's vote. Mr. Kraus? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Hart?
Yeah.
Ms. Foster?
Yes.
Chair votes no.
Okay, next you have, control growth.
I actually stretched out more toward the.
Well. Which sounds something like a new job.
I had control growth last night in Vegas, gained 11 pounds.
So this would be resolution 08/2023. Let me pull that up, so that one. It would be a resolution imposing a limit on the acceptance of water taps applications and sale of taps on a first come first served basis through December 31st, 2023.
Can I get a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we use the resolution that Jim has put together with a couple of exceptions, that we approve 20 taps through the end of June with a review by the board the last week of April. So that if we feel anything is necessary to do, we would have 60 days to notify the public of the public hearing. And be able to review it for the summer when the water consumption is.
Can I get a second? I will second that, because I will open the discussion. All right, discussion. All right. Go ahead.
I don't know, I mean, I'm just gonna rehash what I've already said, so.
So discussion.
I mean, that would be, I mean, what you're saying is 20 taps by June, the end of June. And then you go back and you just, say you only have 15 taps by then. Then you say, we're gonna do 15 more taps, do you have 35 or 40 by the end of the year?
I'm saying that the high water usage time of the year is summer, and by June, we should have a pretty good idea if it's an unseasonably wet or dry year, how many of those are the taps that we're opening up, which is more than Jim asked for, are sold, and progress that we're making on securing funds for phase one of the grant.
Also, then we have to go back to think, there were 9 people in line to put 6 taps. So we thought there was gonna be a moratorium, and it kind of cost panic. So you could very well fill those up and make it seem like.
Yeah.
It cost panic the last time we had a moratorium. People wanted to hurry and get in here and get a tap because they thought they couldn't.
But now we're not having a moratorium control growth.
So would you be, say, I'm just playing devil's advocate, because I'm an old man. Or you.
You look like.
I didn't know this.
Is this a senior moment?
It's the same old as you know.
You're messing up my thought pattern. Say in May, for instance, we already end up with 20 taps. Can we address it in May? And say,
Well-
okay, we need to do something about things, or
We could, the only thing is, we're required to give a 60-day notice for a 30? Oh, well, that's what I'm trying to, I don't want to lose the opportunity to talk about it before the date. So I don't care when the days are, just so we review it 30 days before we think we're gonna maybe need to do. I thought it was 60, but I'm on the old man too.
so you just, not as old as I am. Just so if you, say 30 days or something like that, then I kind of go with that. But the thing is, Mr. Krause, you and I will be off the board by that.
Oh, well, we really want to review it at least once more before I go.
No, let's not cause this problem. Please.
My position here still is that somehow we need to get this to stay in front of the board. And that's my goal.
We'll just make a resolution to review our taps in 6 months.
That's how Jim wrote it out, but, that's kind of what this is, it's just yearly.
Yeah.
I think it's a.
There's already a resolution on the table, but that's what my resolution, I guess, for the dam. If this one doesn't go through, it would be just to
Part of it,
review it every year.
for the board to take the responsibility of addressing it, whether it be, or as needed, I think, and maybe.
We can
I
review it
think I
whenever.
understand your issue about the panic.
Well, also building is so seasonal here. It's gonna depend on when you review it. If you review it in June, everybody that put in the application for any training, we have to go. It's gonna be like.
Okay. So let's go on the motion on the floor is Terry's motion to review it in May, basically to review it in June. Is that right? Yes. Okay.
But you put 20 taps on,
20 taps.
20 taps on.
Now through, to review it in May. So let's go. Terry?
I'll vote yes.
Sarah?
No.
Rick?
No.
Terry?
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go, big guy.
I vote no. I guess, I would like to simplify somehow to get back into it. So let's,
I make a motion that we do the taps to 35.
I mean,
35 for the year, but review it in June. The reason I do that, you may not have to change that. It won't put a scare tag on people because I don't think you're gonna get to 35. But you can review and see,
let's say,
put 35 as your quota for the year, but review it in 6 months. The status of the building permits issue. But 35 for the year.
can I get a motion on that? You got a motion? I got a motion. Can I get this other thing? This one.
Second.
These guys. I'm gonna second it, because I want to. I'm going to, I'm going to allow input shortly, quickly.
Now, when,
Sorry?
right now, or later.
Right now.
Remember what this gentleman just said, AOS fees, you're charging us, so now you not only come up against class action, but if you don't want that, figure out a way so you can you can give us a discount on all the lots we pay AOS on.
All right. Discussion on the board.
So I would just suggest that if you are wanting a process where we review this, just in case somebody comes in here and tries to build 150 houses, which in this economy right now with this interest rate, they'd be absolutely insane. But somebody comes in here and wants to build 150 houses, you want to be able to review that, possibly put a stop to that. Is that what I'm hearing here, guys? That we're not so much worried about the individuals building or the contractors that are building the house?
But I'm also looking for 5 years, because we want to force the future boards to address it. Yeah?
I think Greg's on the right path. Yeah, you don't want a developer coming in and say, okay, now we want to have inclusion into Colorado City and we want 150 tax or all of that into the system. I agree with that, but you already have that as a stop within, the board has the right to stop inclusion, they have the right to stop all development. So I don't see where that would be a problem.
So we can actually stop that developer without the rule just have.
So what if we just have a resolution to not put a limit, and just to have a resolution to readdress it every 6 months?
That I would go.
We need to put a number in there.
Well, let's see where things go.
He's probably got it on the word. All right, so let's vote on the motion on the floor.
What was the motion?
Motion was to limit to 35.
So he never got it. Oh, yeah.
And got second, 35 taps and then review it in 6 months.
Let's vote on that. Ms. Strauss?
No.
Ms. Strong?
No.
Ms. Bonner?
No.
Mr. Hall? No, no, that's.
You know, you're a troll man, so.
And we just.
I'll make a motion that we review this in 6 months.
I'll say.
Move in second discussion.
All the question.
What are we voting on?
We're gonna review this in 6 months.
We're gonna review the controlled growth in Colorado, so.
Are we gonna make that a resolution?
I just did.
Now, you gonna make a motion. Are we gonna review this resolution? 6 months.
Oh, no, I make a motion that we review, this,
That's,
concept, yes.
no, you're better off doing that.
Just do the resolution.
Make it.
Okay. To review this resolution in 6 months.
A resolution to review.
I just made a motion, man. You don't do anything else.
Let's go ahead and review this.
Oh.
Okay.
A motion on the floor to review this resolution.
In 6 months.
And I will continue my second.
Okay. I don't know what that looks now.
And that just means there's no, I mean, right now, we have no limit on.
There's no limit on anything, just review it. We're gonna review it in 6 months.
Okay. Discussion? Done. Mr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Chair votes no, but it passes anyway. What do we have, Jim? Old business?
Old business.
Greg, did you have something?
Oh, yeah, I did, thank you. Another senior moment. No, new business. New business, it's not another one.
How we doing?
We're, got the survey in from, DH2. They combine those lots now, and we can work on it. And look forward to it. Okay.
We've had that survey in for a while.
It's not too,
Has there been any,
we haven't had that.
what do we do next?
The next is we'll do it for the next days and help to get it going.
Can we put a time limit on that?
I'd say it's right.
When can we see the movement up there?
Let me clear Josh and we'll see what he has for approval. We should send it, you know. Set up a date meeting with community health. They want to come in and help out. And do what we need. Because I got.
What's a reasonable, I don't know what a reasonable time is. Are we talking months, 6 weeks? What are we talking about? Reasonable time?
Can I have it by the next meeting, you know, say this is when we put it out? The way I know what he asked for help.
You're asking for, to give us a reasonable time, next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks or, so that kind of shortens the time a bit.
Well, that way I can get together and say, okay, this is how much time we need to get all material and everything put in place.
Well, I was willing to give you 2 months, now I'm going to give you 6 weeks.
Well, it's gonna, it's giving me 2 weeks to get all this information together, so that way I can give you a bit.
Okay. How are we doing on, promoting or getting the people to be aware of the chat that's coming up in February? Any heard anything on that?
And then any more on it, we put it in the newsletter. It was,
Should be on the website?
yeah.
Okay.
In
And
nominations.
For nomination,
do we have any nominations?
No, we haven't, it's getting over yet.
the next old guy. So next week.
All right. Anybody else have any old business to bring up?
I don't know if this is old business or new business. I was trying to remember what time of the year last year that we did Jim's evaluation. Usually in April.
So that the old board still has it. I think we should follow through on that annually. Yes. When are you suggesting? DNB, before new board. Yes. Because we know him better than people who've only been in office for a short period of time. So second meeting of April, that'll be fine. Of April? We could do it the first week of April. First day of April. Never out of time. No, first meeting of April.
You're not here, it's no problem.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, second meeting of April. All right. New business? No, but you.
I got a new business. Let her go first.
I don't know, I'd like to, make a recommendation to reinstate Larry Bird to that committee, but I don't know. It's okay with them. I'd like to put him on the, CCAC committee again. He got off, but I put him back on. That's my motion.
Okay, now, you're making a motion for it?
Yeah, take motion, put Larry Bird back on.
Now the second. Moved and seconded, discussion. Now, the only thing, I'm all for Larry being on that committee. The only concern I have is, if we need to have a little bit more formalized process. I don't know if we should require resumes. I mean, Larry's basically given us that and some of the information he's dispelled with us, or if, but we're gonna be considering making changes anyway. I'm wondering if we should do that in a less immediate manner and decide if we want to have some kind of more formal application process. Because from what I hear about Nancy,
Wait, you can't say that, right?
if she gets a bad board member, she may chew him up.
Can't say that.
But no, I'm wondering if we, have kind of out of desperation, and again, Larry, I know you, I'm not using you as an individual as an example, but if we need to just have a more, please give us a resume, a letter of interest, dash, whatever. Whatever we need to have to make a good decision. Rather than a desperate decision, just because we have trouble finding board.
No, we don't have trouble finding him, but he was already on it.
True.
Stating.
I agree with Terry, to point the formalization of trying to codify that, as well as I think that we probably ought to have the chairman of that committee give a formal input with that particular approach. Now, and again, I don't want. I think part of it is all for you. Formalizing the process. Yeah.
I think it is for we have some kind of breakdown and understanding of what that person is. And knowledge and where he came from and even how long he's been in the community. To understand where we're at. It's sometimes you get somebody that comes into the community from the outside, I want to be on it, and we're talking these. Well, sometimes you need to do a little research of, like, you.
So you try to say not to look at that congressman in New York.
Yeah.
So part of this, I guess, then would be, I think that very interested in any of us, if we could request them to give us some kind of an introductory letter or whatever, and pass it to the board and the chairman, and then they would see it. And maybe have a time that we can question it or strictly.
That's the only reason I stayed that, I just wanted to be reinstated, because he's already gone through the process. It's not a new guy coming on.
True, what you want to
I just want to put it back on because he knows so much and he can, I think he can keep us out of legal problems. Just these common sense
He
stuff.
said he's not an attorney.
Hey.
I'm just listening on television.
They're qualified.
Any other- any other discussion?
We've got a motion.
Yeah, let's vote. Ms. Hunter? Stop there.
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Kraus? I gotta vote no, because I think that we need to form a process, but that, well, I don't want that to be a point really at all. So it has a lot. And what? We voted tonight, a lot. Just on. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Joey, for being with me. And I just think I should ask, is Nancy gonna beat him up or not?
We need.
Okay,
Yes, we did.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, so since the subject came up, refundable tap fees. I think we need to address that in the rules, like almost immediately. We need to, I don't know if we need to write. I don't know if we need to do a motion tonight, but I think that needs, because here's the problem with that, I've never heard of that actually happen. And now we've opened a Pandora's box. And yeah, that's not cool. I don't know if you're gonna buy tap fees and you change your mind, well, then you changed your mind, sell the tap fees for property. Or don't, but, I am definitely not for refunding tap. I think you need to address that.
Now, why did it, for some reason, if the lot's not buildable? I think that they should be refunded.
I got that. Yeah, I would agree. If the lot is not buildable, if they pay for the tap fees and come to find out that it's not buildable due to some,
And it could be technical, it could be anything. Not be able to use the soil.
So I think that maybe we discuss it, absolutely no lot in place. It might be pretty darn expensive. But it's,
You think the situation that Jim's presented, it was not going to go for her?
so, Bob, can you make it real quick,
Yes, sir.
please?
To my knowledge, there's never been a refund on tap. However, with that said, it doesn't mean it hasn't happened. But you used to carry a book on the shelf in here, that when you bought a lot, you could see if a tap had been paid upon a lot, and that's applied to the new tap fee.
Okay, thanks. So, I agree, I think we need to address that. For a couple reasons, I don't think that we should be putting them in a position to make that free.
so actually what I would do tonight is make a motion that, that there be a temporary until we can get it written rules. And don't go there, not gonna do that, that there would be a temporary, yeah, I know you are, so I gotta word this carefully. Temporary ban on refunding tax, until we can codify this in our rules. That's my motion, is that there's a temporary ban on refunding until we can codify this.
Wouldn't that codify if we just made a motion to not allow refunds on taps?
We could do that.
Or just give a direction to, we could just make a motion to, that, we take the position that tap fees are not refundable.
And I'm welcome to do that, I was just addressing something Sarah had brought up that maybe should be.
The other thing is, you think about it, I mean, her husband died, but she still has a lot. So maybe the thing is, if you sell that property, you just raise the price as much more.
Well, yeah, you just raise the
Tap
price
fees.
because the tap fees include.
Yeah, but I think it keeps him out of the hot water. But I understand why he did
Okay,
it.
well, I will just make a motion that we put a ban on, that tap fees are non-refundable, period, how much that.
One thing I'd say, the tap fee is actually, you're gonna increase your plant productivity. So if everybody's bidding these things around and losing them, you don't know how to plan for your future. So tap fees should stay with that property.
Yeah, so they're not, I make a motion that tap fees are non. Okay.
I guess, I'll say, move and second. Any more discussion? It's already beat it up by now. Any more discussion? My question, I guess, is that does that need to go into rules and regs?
Yes, yes, it should. That way, the future city managers, any of these city managers, can look in the rules and regs and say, hey, sorry, they're non-refundable.
Because of going into rules and regs, do we have to have a public hearing?
But we can pass this one and then put it in the rules and regs, like,
You can directly roll for copies of the department. I can hold off, on only doing until you put them.
Yes. So this motion on the floor is to direct the manager to tap each of them.
yes. And then we'll work on that.
And then we need to bring it up.
So we'll see it again.
Yes, we did. Okay. Let's go. Mr. Hoffman,
I guess.
retired. There was a election. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Charles? Yeah. There goes Charles. I vote yes. I made note of it. Okay. Anything else? Jim? No. Anybody else have any new business?
I make a motion, oh, no, never mind.
CCAC.
You got CCAC stuff?
We don't.
No, I make a motion, we turn this one.
We do have, oh, we already went through that letter, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. We did.
I hear a second.
I second.
Thank you.
We're adjourned.
It's,